So I'm Danaya, I'm from the Create Lab. What I'm going to do today, because we only have a short amount of time, between 15 and 20 minutes, is talk to you about one particular project that we're embarking on in the lab, which is around interacting with robots in public spaces. Our work is very broadly around the design and evaluation of new technologies, and we particularly look at how people collaborate and communicate with technologies. So I'm going to talk about robots and humans in public space, and in a little bit I'll be introducing you to the now here. You might, at that point, need to just stand up if you're at the back to be able to see, because as you see, quite tiny. So our vision is to build and design the public space of the future. And what we would like to see happening in that space is people being able to inhabit it and respond to other people, but also robots to be able to inhabit that space. And when I'm talking about robots in the most of this talk, I'm talking about telepresent robots. So I'm talking about someone inhabiting that robot and using its functionality to be able to be present in the space. So I'm not talking about AI, robots wandering around on their own and being intelligent. This is a partially intelligent robot, and we'll show you a bit of its functionality in a little bit. But what I'm really talking about is somebody being able to be in a public space for multiple reasons. It might be that you have a physical limitation, you're ill, you're disabled, and you want to be in that space, but for some reason you can't be in it. It might be you have multiple places to be. There are lots of reasons why you might want to inhabit a robot, potentially, to be in a particular space. And those are some of the things we're exploring. Unlike many projects looking at robotics, the real challenge for this, a lot of them are lab-based. So there's quite a lot of projects that are looking at artificial intelligence in robotics, and there's quite a lot who are doing lab-based studies. Now, we are doing some lab-based studies, but the real challenge of what we're doing, and a little bit of what I'm going to tell you about, is we're going to be taking this into public spaces over the next 3 years. So we just started the project a few months ago, and we'll be running lots and lots of studies, moving from public indoor spaces, so anybody who knows the watershed in Bristol will be there for some of the time. We'll be in public spaces with the council involved so that they know this is going on in both Bath and Bristol. And that's going to be really interesting for our research challenges. I'm going to tell you a bit more about the team so you know the sort of things that we're doing. So we at the University of Bath are looking at trust and communication between robots, humans, and robots and humans within this project. We also have colleagues at Oxford who are looking at the technical side, so they're looking at location tracking. So they're doing indoor and outdoor tracking in order to be able to see where robots and humans are, in order to be able to look at their interactions in the space. We've got people also at Oxford who are looking at the security and privacy issues. As you can imagine, if you're starting to collect data around people's location and people are interacting with robots in particular spaces, when you're trying to collect data, people are going to be much more conscious of what data they're giving out. If the robot's, say for example, filming them, if they don't know who's the pilot behind the robot, who's the person controlling the robot. So there's lots of interesting issues, and they're looking at how you can collect data, but you can keep it either anonymous, or you can just filter the correct data you need for that particular interaction and then lose it so that it doesn't stay and remain in that space. It makes it much more socially acceptable to interact with the robot in particular ways. We've got people at Queen Mary who are into emotional sensing, and they're looking at how, where we're looking at trust relationships, they're emotionally sensing what people do in the space through a number of sensors to look at heart rate. They can look at all sorts of different elements of what's going on physiologically in the space as well as psychologically. We're also importantly working with Bristol Robotics Lab, who have a wide range of robots, and they're working with us on the project doing a lot of the technical implementation around the robots. And the Pervasive Media Studio and the Watershed in Bristol, and they're working a lot on our public engagement. So where we want to do the research in public spaces, they're doing some of the work with us with the council with creative partners to design those to work really effectively. So as a whole, there's a large project, and in these sort of interactions where we're looking at large-scale technology deployment, it often is this way that we have this large interdisciplinary team who work closely together in order to fulfill a project like this. A psychologist couldn't do that project on their own. It's only with the group that you'd be able to do that. Also, one of the fundamental things about our project is we work in a participatory design process. So what we do is we work with people throughout the project. So we have people coming in, designing and developing with us, and these are the people who are going to use the technology, so that basically they hopefully have a technology that will be usable by them, and we pick up many of the issues as we go along, rather than just, for example, running a lab study and then implementing it in public space. We will do a number of